This is Michael Williams, and today we're going to be looking at the third and final part of this video series about proactive thinking. This whole thing is about how can we begin to think and speak more proactively. That is, having control over what you say, when you say it, and how you say it. Having the freedom to say what you want to say, when you want to say it, and in the way that you want to say it. So in this video, we're going to be looking at the third part, which is to practice speaking until you don't think about speaking anymore. Let me repeat that. Practice speaking until you no longer think about speaking any longer. What in the world does that mean? Let me give you an illustration. Many years ago, I decided to learn Spanish. And my Spanish goes up and down depending on how often I use it, how much I work on it. Sure, right now I can go and I can have a conversation in Spanish. I can listen, I can understand most things. I can read and I can write a little bit. However, my level of fluency, my level of understanding rises and decreases with how much I use it, right? How much I practice. Now, one of the best ways to learn Spanish and to get fluent, and one of the fastest ways to do it is through what? Immersion, right? So if you immerse yourself into Spanish or whatever language, and that's all you speak and that's all you listen to, then what happens is you get to a place where you stop consciously trying to translate, where you stop consciously translating from one language to another. So we know that some of the initial stages, which is a natural stage, that we go through when learning a second language, is we think a thought in our own language, and then we translate it. We look for the words or the phrases, the expressions, try to translate it into the new language. Now, the more that we immerse ourselves, the more that we practice and we use the new language, the less we need to think consciously to translate it. In fact, they tell you, start thinking in the new language. Don't think in your own language and translate. Think in the new language. Well, this is very, very similar. We're talking about learning how to speak well, learning how to speak proactively, is that you and I need to immerse ourselves in speaking. Now, how do we do this? Well, what we do, as I've been saying, is we model someone and we develop a new speaking style and a new vocabulary. Now, not only a verbal vocabulary, that is new sets of words and phrases, right? But also new ways of putting those words and phrases together. Now, watch this. So not only a new verbal vocabulary, but also a new physical vocabulary. That is a way of using our bodies. How do we use our hands? We use our face. How do we use our bodies when we are using this new style, right? So when we develop this new vocabulary, okay, and we start to use it, right? So when we start to practice speaking, using this new speaking style, this new vocabulary, and the more we do it, and the more we immerse ourselves in it and use it every day as often as possible, what do you think is going to happen after a period of time? Well, the same thing that happens when you're learning a new language. It becomes automatic. You stop thinking about how do I breathe? How do I say this word? Oh, I think I'm going to get stuck on that word. You stop thinking about it and you just start speaking naturally. See, speaking is really, for the most part, it's a natural activity. Like, while I'm speaking, I'm not thinking about how I'm breathing. I'm not thinking about particular words and how I'm going to actually pronounce those words. It's coming naturally. I'm simply thinking of concepts and ideas that I want to communicate, and the words are coming together and they're coming out naturally. And that's where you want to get. You want to get to the place where you're literally speaking without thinking consciously, without taking conscious control over a very natural, or what is supposed to be, what? A natural process. So Proactive thinking says that I am going to now practice speaking. I'm going to practice using my new speaking style, so much so that I no longer am thinking about it, that I no longer need to practice because I'm just doing it. Just like when I practice Spanish and I practice a lot and I immerse myself, eventually, now I've never fully gotten to this, I don't think I have anyway, but eventually it gets to a place where I'm not thinking about translating, right? I'm just speaking and saying it. And it's almost like a realm that you cross over into. And sometimes you don't really see when it happens, right? And some of you can identify, but you just start doing it. You're not really thinking about, okay, how do I, think in your own language and translate it. This is the same thing. You practice speaking, you model something, you practice speaking, you practice and practice, and you use it in everyday life and conversations. And it's not easy, right? It's not easy, but you just do it. You immerse yourself until finally you're speaking naturally. You're not thinking about breathing and I'm going to stutter on this word. I have a problem with A, B's, and C's and Z's. It comes naturally, right? So in this proactive speaking video, and this is a short video, but it gets right to the point. And the point is practice speaking, right? So why is this thinking? Well, it's a thought because before you practice speaking, you have to have the attitude and the belief that if I do this, this will happen. If I do 1, 2, 3, I'm going to get ABC, right? So the thinking is if I practice speaking using my new style, if I practice speaking like my model, eventually, through immersion and through practice and repetition, I will be able to speak without thinking. I'll be able to speak well without thinking. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? I hope that you got that because this is so very important. Now, some of you may be able to do this in a short period of time, and for some of you, it may take a longer period of time. But it does work. It's how we learn languages, it's how we learn to play instruments, it's how we learn many skills, right? We think about it consciously at first, but eventually as we learn the basics, and we're not just talking about overcoming stuttering, we're talking about learning to speak well. Remember that there's a difference, right? Sure, we can overcome stuttering maybe in a short period of time, but we're going beyond that and having you become an excellent speaker. So how do you do this? Well, what you do is you practice and you practice and you struggle with it until it comes to a place where you're no longer struggling and you're no longer thinking. I hope this has been helpful. Please leave a comment, send me an email, share this with whomever you'd like to share it with, and I'll see you next time.